So Michael's a decent start to the game, all told, but it just fell away pretty rapidly after probably the first half, didn't it?
It did. Some good passage of play early. Some good opportunities that were presented. Yeah, probably coughed up a couple of goals that we shouldn't have. A little bit easy, but yeah, I mean the game doesn't ask you to do it for 30 minutes. Different response, start of the game, but as the game went, obviously we fell away in key parts of the game. So the first part that fell away was around the contest, and almost goes a masterclass in contest really. So we lost some really critical territory on the ground, and on the other side we weren't good enough to be able to use ball back the other way. So it was hard to get ascendancy, hard to get territory on the game, and obviously put us under enormous pressure, and we weren't able to work our way through that.
Just on that, the foot skills especially really seemed to let you guys down tonight, and especially from some of the more senior players as well. Was that probably one of the more concerning aspects of tonight's performance? No,
the most concerning part of it is the missed tackles, the aerial contests we lost. We didn't defend behind the ball. When the ball was turned over, we weren't sharp enough in our reactions, and they kicked whatever it was, 70 points in off transition. Kicked 4 goals from centre square bounce. We've had a year where we've been able to defend behind the ball really, really well, and that's how much pressure we get on the ball. It's giving our backs an opportunity to be able to defend the ball, but we just couldn't collectively get that done today. So there's just breakdowns, too many breakdowns. So when I say letting it down, you can handle the disappointment if there's breakdowns in offence. You can handle that disappointment. Our game is made up of imperfection, but what you need out of imperfection is a response, and our response wasn't sharp enough on that, and they were able to maximise too many opportunities, and they also capitalised on some really critical contests.
Michael, at three-quarter time it looked like you were trying to get a response from the leaders on the field. We could see you with Patrick and Jacob and Charlie, and to my eye it looked like you were saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that this isn't good enough. Was that just trying to elicit a response from them in that moment, or is that just what they needed to do to get them fired up? What was your...
No, it's more about standards. What standards do we accept? And what standards are we accepting from one another right now? So what feedback do we actually give to one another, and how direct do we need to give it? Because there's a sense of urgency in that moment to be able to correct, and we weren't able to do that. So engaging the leaders was effectively that conversation. And then making a really pointed decision about how we want to see out this game, because that it was made known certainly at three-quarter time we'll finish this game out strong, and we certainly didn't get those actions through the middle part of the game, and it really let us down. It did the week before, and it did this week as well.
So does that response work then, do you think? Like, it must be frustrating for you to have those conversations and you're not getting the response it appears.
Oh, we got the response, but it's too late. Like like you finish off the game, at least a little bit level. We got a little bit more ascendancy around the ball, but you still want to finish it out strong. You still want to see actions that show that what are the winning behaviours that we want to continue to promote at this football club. So you might acknowledge that for half of it it's not done correctly, but there's another half that you've got to get it done. And the most difficult of times to be able to get that done is when the game's not going for you. Right now, it's not going for us. So when you look at now the behaviours of what we need to be able to have and what we need to be able to get after, these are when the critical decisions are made. So, and so the way we want to play and what we're going to value, we don't step away from our responsibilities on that.
6 and 10 now, top 8's a long way away.
Furthest thing from mine.
What can you still get out of the season?
Well, the fight's on and it's live. The season's live, and this is the most important part. So seeing out the season strongly is exactly what we are going to do. There'll obviously be some opportunities as we presented tonight with some younger players. But there's also trying to get the cohesion with the group to be able to play some time together. So we might have some breakdowns. We might, but we're pretty determined to give that exposure where needed. But there's also a level of expectation around our performance that we need as well.
It's 3 pretty disappointing losses in a row now. Are you confident that the message is still getting through? Like, I mean, do you think you still have the players like in the palm of your hand, for want of a better phrase?
Oh, mate, like we come into every single game and every single week, and our job is to be able to provide the consistency of the messaging, consistency of the environment, work through what's work and what's not working, and then we sort of start to work out, well, what do we need to get better? At the moment, we've got a couple of really critical phases that we need to be able to get better. And the other part is that the only thing I'm really worried about right now is ensuring that we continue to support our people, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So this goes well beyond just, when we talk about our support teams and our players, this goes to families as well. So how are we supporting them? So all those are the sorts of things about pressure and messaging, and they are the least of my concerns right now.
Michael, from a coaching perspective, the contested ball numbers in the third term were alarming. Minus 28. You had to really, then from the point of view of they played the slow defensive game and then went fast into their with the forward territory game. But then you didn't seem to be able to counter that by, you wanted to move it with some speed, but then you just didn't have any tempo. You weren't able. They didn't allow you to do that with the pressure that they applied.
Yeah, and look, whether it was on the air or in the ground, they just had the ascendancy for most of the day. I think in the first half we had one tackle inside 50. Well, that's just nowhere near good enough. We had what was it, 7 or 8 tackles pre-clearance. When we talk about pressure on the ball, there's some basic things that need to be able to get done, and we didn't get them done. There was aerial contests that we lost that were outmarked on, that should have been brought to ground. When it was brought to ground, there was too much presence and we're outnumbered on the floor. So that made it really hard to be able to get the territory game where we needed it to be.
Charlie Curnow seemed to land pretty hard after an attempted mark. How did he pull up after that?
I think he put up. I haven't received an update on that, but I think he can't, given the fact I haven't received that yet, I'm hoping that he's okay. But yeah, we'll obviously confirm that over the next little while. But I think he's okay.
And Zach Williams?
Same, got a knock to the knee. Just sort of felt like he couldn't probably get going or run as well as we'd like. So at that point in the game, it was probably a bit more conservative with the approach that we took.
Michael, you've obviously been around football for a very long time. If these results do continue piling up, are you sort of confident with your future at the club, I guess?
Don't speculate beyond this week. So it's not for me to do. My job is to look at what worked and what didn't work, and then we put our eyes in on that on Sunday. And it's clear that we need to be able to have some pretty important conversations. We let our club down tonight. We want our supporters to be proud of us, and we didn't do that tonight. There's an expectation on the way we want to be able to play, and we didn't do that tonight. So that's something that we're going to have to sit with. Not going to avoid that conversation. We'll have to cop our whack. Well, we have to cop it, because we can't tolerate that. That was a really poor performance.
Is it concerning, I mean, tonight as well, but it's concerning that it's a bit of a trend now developing, because that's 3 weeks in a row where it's been a sort of similar effort, hasn't it?
Well, I can't sit here and say, it's about a body of work, and then when it goes against you, say it's not. So the 3 weeks we don't clearly want to see, and the things we've valued around our game, while not everything was going exactly the way we wanted, we could hang our hat on a few things. We could have had our hang out on contested ball and being the really top team in that area. We could hang our hat on being a forward to centre team and shifting that number from last year, from in the bottom 5-6 to the top 4. We'd had some changes in the way we wanted to move the ball, but we weren't finishing our play. So there was a lot of things that you could actually sort of sit back and sort of say, no, that's the style of football that you want to be able to play. But we have not seen that enough over the last, the last 3 weeks.
Michael, you talk about support for the players and the families, in a time like this, but, what about you? How are you going? How are you?
The only thing I ever think about as a leader is my people. So that's what the focus lies for me. So, you get asked that question a fair bit around pressure, and clearly there's that. I just choose not to act into it. Every day I come into work, I get to choose how I want to be, what type of leader I want to be, and that means I get a chance to impact. and we've got to shift the needle. So that will take a collective effort to be able to do that. So there'll be a lot of leaning on our leaders this week around what we want that to look like and how consistent we want that to be. And that expectation's been set. It's been set previously here, and it will stay the same. We've got to be much better than what we are, and we've got to lead our way out of that. And that starts absolutely with me.
What kind of leader do you
Last
want
couple
to
of
be?
years.
Beg your pardon?
What kind of leader do you want to be?
Oh, geez, that's a broad question. How long we want? I can't summarise that in a minute. What I'd like to be is consistent right now, and what I'd like to be is making sure that we're making one decision at a time and getting them right. When you can look at a lot of different problems, we've got to sort of acknowledge that we're not going to necessarily solve them all in one decision. So it's going to be a steady process and a lot of conversations that we need to be able to have. And what we're also going to be, make sure that we continue to believe in what we're doing. So, if we're sort of starting to throw magnets around too much and starting to flip structures, and if I'm not going to believe in what we're doing, then they won't believe in the direction we're going. So there will be a strong belief, confidence, guidance, mentoring that we'll have to take through this period of time. I'd imagine that's going to take some level of patience, some urgent, some intense, and some patience in some of those conversations.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Cheers.